Hello everyone, welcome to QScutter. I am Narayan and in this video I am going to show you how to manipulate page URLs using JavaScript's url.js library. So in this video I am going to show you how to use this library url.js. It's a very simple JavaScript library used to manipulate page URLs. So by page URL I mean the URL that is seen in the address bar of a web browser. So how to manipulate this kind of URLs using JavaScript instead of actually doing it other way on server side by changing the pages. So it's a very simple library. The first thing we have to do is we have to embed this library into our website. So first you have to go to this src folder, and then there are two versions over there. One is minified and other one is url.js. So on production sites you should use the minified version. Just copy this URL, and obviously you cannot use the raw one directly because the MIME type provided by the GitHub is actually wrong, so it will not work. So what you have to do is you can use rawgit or download it and embed it in your website, but in this case I am going to use the rawgit CDN network. I'm going to copy the production site URL. You can also use the development testing URL too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed it on my site, and it's very simple. Just create a new script tag and then provide this src targeting to the CDN of rawgit. So here I am using the minified version and along with rawgit content delivery network that is used on production sites. But if you are using for testing your app, in that case you can actually use the development and testing URL and then later on change it to the content delivery network URL. So anyways, now let's see how to use this library. So here I am on the official site of this library, and the link is over here. You can just copy this into your own browser to visit this site, and you can see that there is a very important function over here that is present inside the URL object, and that is update search parameter. And what this function does is it actually updates the query string or other things over here, and if it is not present it actually creates one. And if you omit out the value, in that case it actually deletes the parameter. So let's see how to use this. The first thing I'm going to do is just copy this line and then paste it over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give name over here, and I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to go to my testing URL and I'm going to refresh it. And you can see that its name equals to Narayan now, and it happened from the JavaScript itself. So the second thing I'm going to do is actually run update search parameter again, and here I'm going to change the name basically. So what is going to happen is now the first time it's going to run this function, it's going to embed the name parameter, the query parameter, and then the second time what it's going to do is it sees that the name parameter is already present, so it's going to update it to Narayan Pusti. So I'm going to refresh this again. So it's just loading, just wait for a moment. Okay. And here you can see that it's actually changed the name parameter to Narayan space R and then Pusti, and actually it also encoded the URL so that you can actually copy it and paste it somewhere and also request the same URL somewhere else. So this is the advantage of this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to omit the value over here, and not an empty string, just omit it because an empty string itself is a value. So don't put an empty string over there. Just save it and refresh it, and you can see that there is nothing over here. So this is how it basically works. So you can actually manipulate the page URL directly using JavaScript. And this is very useful if you are creating a one-page website, that is complete Ajax websites. There are now a lot of websites on internet which are completely made of Ajax. They don't have multiple pages on server side, one single page, and it requires the APIs and other stuff. Mostly websites that are made using the parse, SDK and other things are very useful for this library. So let's see one more thing, that is how to actually find the value of a parameter. So here I'm going to alert the value Narayan. So what url.queryString is going to do is it's going to retrieve the query parameter, and then it's going to find the value of the name parameter over there. And you can see that it outputs Narayan over here. So this is the way you can retrieve the values. And one more thing is very important, that is actually converting the complete query string, that is this complete query string, to an a JSON object. And this is very useful if you want to actually access these variables again and again, so you don't have to parse them again and again. So convert them to a JSON object for one time and then try to access it many times, and there is no performance issues. So instead of using this line, it is better to actually convert it to an object. So see what this does is it actually converts url.stringify, and then I have passed a JSON object over here, and what it's going to do is it's going to convert this JSON object into a string that is in query string. So it is very helpful for creating dynamic query strings. And the other thing we can do is convert the current URL into an Ajax stuff. So this one is going to alert a query string, and this one is going to alert a JSON object basically. And this one is going to convert JSON to query string. And you can see that at first it converted the JSON to a query string, and this is a complete query string. And then now you can see that it converted the query string into an JSON object. So converting an query string to JSON object is very helpful if you are trying to access the parameters again and again in your application. In that case, you don't have to actually depend on the library to parse it and use the regular expressions, which is a big performance issue. So one last thing is, how does it work basically? You must be wondering, because you must not have been seeing these kind of things in daily life. But how it works is basically depends on HTML5 history API. So let me just go to the source code of the app. And over here you can see that window.history.replaceState, and this is the main API that it depends on. It is HTML5 history state API, and you know that HTML5 is not supported by the old browsers, but nowadays every computer has browsers updated and they all support HTML5. So you are free to use this library, but there are lots of old mobile phones that people are using now and other stuff. So if they are accessing your site with this library, then the history state API will not work. So what you can do is you can actually check if this library is supported or not by writing a simple if condition, and also here you can give an else condition. So here you can write supported. So if it is supported, then you can use this library. Otherwise, what you can do is you can do some kind of fallback, or you can change the structure of your application to behave accordingly. Otherwise, you can actually send a message that please update your browser to use this app. Yeah. So this kind of messages are very helpful, and nowadays lots of websites are displaying these messages to actually request the user to update the browser. And updating a browser is not a difficult task because browsers are not too big in size of the file size. So it's okay if you are requesting the user to update the browser to use your web app. So obviously here it is supported, so I'm going to see the message. And you can see that it sends me a supported message, otherwise it will ask me to actually update my browser. And one more very important thing is the history state API actually changes the entries on your history page. That is on your website history, you can see over here that it actually adds the new histories over here. For example, you can just see that over here you added the name URL, that is Narayan Kushti, and then I'm just copying this because it's not visible properly over here. Okay, so you can see over here below that it actually changes entries, a new entry in the history page. So whenever you change the URL of the web page, the browser actually creates a new entry in the history page. So it seems to the browser, for the user, that the browser is actually requesting a new page, but it's not actually. It's Ajax that's doing all these things and the history state API. So for user's perspective, it's like a multiple page website, but for the programmer perspective, it's not a multi-page website, it's a single page website that emulates like a multi-page website. So this is one of the most important features. So you can see that over here it is Narayan, and here it is Narayan Pushti, and here I omitted the parameters, so it's different over here. So it actually embeds the different ones over here. So that's it about this library. So basically you need to understand that it uses HTML5 history state API, and history state API actually adds new entries to the history page whenever you change the URL of the page. That's the basic concept you need to understand. And this library is going to be very, very useful in your applications, because nowadays websites are going for single pages, not multi-pages, because multi-pages sites require a lot of requests and responses, and they have to load from beginning, and there are many other issues. So, and Google is also providing APIs and other SEO stuff to help developers make the Ajax websites crawlable. And Google also understands this HTML5 history state API. That search engine is very advanced now to understand this API. So thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. Thanks.